Yo, what's good, fam? Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Yeah, I was just trying to be funny, man. I ain't trying to get on nobody or be racist or none of that, yo. Like I was telling you, I seen pictures of my grandfather, man, and shit got to me, man, cause you feel me, like my family, they're low key racist, man. All the older heads, and they try to separate themselves from the truth, and everybody tries to be white. And no matter where I go, if I go to Spain, they won't look at me like I'm Spanish or I'm Spaniard. They'll look at me like I'm a half breed. You feel me? And in the black community, I'm not black enough, so ain't nobody ever happy with me. I know I'm a mix of native, Spaniard, black, and I don't know, but I might even be part Middle Eastern. You never know. Even though that's they say there's no Middle East. There's only Western Asia. But you know what I mean. I'm like part Arab probably too, 'cause it's just we don't know what's in our genes. But I'm a proud person. You feel me? No matter if I'm part of that black community or not. There's people who are in the black community who aren't even that black inside. You feel me? They're doing some other shit. So at least I know who I am, and I'm proud. I didn't mean to make a big thing of it. You feel me? It's all love, fam. It's all love, bro. You my brother.
People in South America classified themselves as white up until the 1960s. So it is a big phenomenon where people from South America tend to identify as white. Even to today, I know a lot of people that come from South America, definitely Puerto Rico area, they tend to put white on their paperwork. Like if they're arrested or if they're going out for a job, they tend to put white. That's because of colonialism. That's because they were colonized, and they see that white people have the power right now, and the closer they identify with white people, the more power that they have. That's why you're seeing that racism of the older generation. Problem is, they see a lot of their youth mimicking black people, so they end up having a large disconnect between the young generation and the older generation for that reason.
Yeah, it's real. My mother and other parts of the family always kept that from me, like my grandfather's color and everything. But a friend of mine made me think a while back. He's like, yo, how come out of all your family, you're the only one that's got a broad nose, big lips, there's like features. And I said I never thought about it. So I started doing my homework, and then I asked my mother that, and she kind of smiled and was like, damn, like, like she was like in denial. But that's for me, that shit's like painful for me to have my mother or somebody else in the family want to deny that part of themselves and me. You feel me?
When you say that you're mixed with native and black, you're using blanket terms. What you need to do is ask your parents, ask them the questions that need to be answered, like where do we come from? Because the Cortez thing, that's a real phenomenon. The Aztecs, the Olmecs were the first group of Africans over here. They don't talk to people about the Olmecs a lot because they're from Africa. They sailed here from Africa. The Olmecs came over here. The Aztecs are a mixture people, a mixture of the Olmec people, some of the Aztec people. You had a lot of Mongoloid people that came over, when they talk about Native Americans, they tend to talk about the Mongoloid people, but which is the Red Indian, but they never talk about the Paleo Americans, the black people that were here first that taught them how to do that. Like, for instance, you don't see any Native Americans that are still in America. You don't see them really doing like this major growing and stuff. I mean, growing, I mean by growing the three sisters, squash, beans, and corn. They claim these things, that they farm these things and they did that, but all you see are casinos and drunk people on their reservations. They don't do the things that they claim that they used to do because they weren't the ones that came up with it. They weren't the ones that did it. That's why it's important to know who you are, where you come from, so that you don't end up taking on somebody else's lineage without the proper context. Like I was saying with the cholo thing, the statements you made in the post, that's exactly how cholos act over here. Usually people from South America that come up here to America, they act just like that. They start to take things from our culture. They want to say nigga, nigga, nigga all day. They want to sag their pants. They want to mimic us. But then when they go see abuela, or they going to their mom's house, or if they going to see their native family, they don't act like that. They speak Spanish, they speak their native tongue, they speak with respect. But when they come back to America, they feel like they can take what we have over here, and everybody tends to leech over us. When you talk about those black people that don't like themselves, oftentimes those are black immigrants. Those are people that come from Haiti, the Caribbean, and Africa, that blend in with our society. They come in here, act like us, mimic us, and then they commit crimes and do things. And then we, black people, foundational black Americans, have to take the fall for that. So a lot of us over here, most of us over here, we love ourselves. We love being black. We are B1, black first, black always. But you have a lot of these immigrant tethers that come over here and become a buffer class for the white supremacists, where they want to come over here and they want to mooch and benefit off of black people. But when they have words like akata and stuff that are offensive to us over here.
But my dad passed away recently, and I just seen some old pictures that they sent back from Ecuador, and my grandfather was straight up black. Like, you know, he might have had something else in him, some Spanish, some native, but he was black. You know what I mean? And like, yo, it just blew my mind, man. I was like, no wonder. Like, my grandfather, I look like my father and my grandfather a lot. You know, so I'm proud. That didn't make me go, oh, I'm not black, or I'm not this. Like, you know, it is what it is. I am who I am. I can't deny that part of me. You feel me? Like, that shit just makes me more proud. You feel me? Like, it don't take away from me. Other people try to be like, oh no, I'm more Ecuadorian, or I'm more Spaniard, I'm white, or I'm like, I tell my mom, when I go to Ecuador, I don't want to do none of that touristy shit. I want to go to the mountains. I want to live with the Indians. Like, you know, for lack of a better term, you know, I know that's not the correct term, Indians, but you know what I mean, with the native people. I want to live with tribes. You know, I want to learn about shamanism. Like, you know, like I want to learn my roots. Like, I'm not trying to go to the touristy spots and, you know, deny my heritage. And she just looks at me like I'm crazy. Like she's like, oh, you Indian now? You're a native? You're a savage? And I'm like, yeah, that's in me. You feel me? Like, I don't identify with my Spaniard side. You know what I mean? Yeah, my mom don't know. You know, and even if she knew, she's in denial. She tries to be more on the white side. You know, like that side of the family, her grandmother was straight up European looking, like she came from over there, you feel me? And she was racist and stuff. I don't know, she identifies more with that. So she would never tell me, oh, like the truth, you feel me? I have to discover that by myself. So I have to dig in. I was gonna get a DNA test, like an ancestry test, but I know that shit gets collected in a national database and blah blah blah. So you know, I'm still iffy about that. But man, I'm dying to know, man. Like, where I came from. I want to see documents. You feel me? I want to, establish that family tree. This is the first time I ever heard of a paleo native, or what'd you say, paleo people? I never heard. I heard of paleontologists or something like that. Like, I know that has to do with the study of, the original species or creatures or something like that, or it's like a certain age, like I'm not sure if that's like a dinosaur age or something, you know what I mean? But I heard of that paleo. But you see, like you teaching me, man. You learning me something, man, and that's I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate that.
The Paleo Americans are the Africans that sailed over here from Africa, that inhabited America first. Those were the first inhabitants of America, the Paleo Americans, the first people that stepped foot over here and established civilization. The Paleo Americans, these are Africans that sailed from Africa over to the Americas. They were called the Olmecs. The reason why you see the Moors wearing fezzes is because the Moors were a slave army of black people from Africa that were the Turks had they enslaved the Africans in Africa. Not all Africans, but they enslaved some Africans. So they had slave armies that would go around and establish Islam in different places. But you had them when the Moors went into Spain in 711 AD. They helped Spain. What was going on was the Vandals and the Visigoths and all these, basically like the savage Europeans, the savage whites, the ones that's just raping, pillaging, and plundering everything. They were the ones that were in control of Southern Europe, Spain at the time. The Moors, the slave army, the Moors went into Spain. They kicked their asses out, and the people that were underneath their tyranny, those are the people that stayed. But those are the people that they didn't know how to wash, they didn't know how to clean themselves, they didn't know how to do any of this stuff. They didn't know about barns, alcohol. And I don't mean alcohol like you drink, I mean like alcohol you put like as an antiseptic. The Moors are the ones that brought that into Europe. So the reason why they wear the fez is because they were Islamicized by the Islamic people who, the Turks, who enslaved them over there, enslaved that group of Africans. All Africans weren't enslaved, but they did have some black people in their army, and they were ultimately converted into what is called Moors now because of proximity. If you get enslaved by people and you're prisoners of war, you're going to take on and adopt their religion. That's just how that ends up working. By slaves, I mean prisoners of war. So when the Arabs who were Muslim took over an African village, they would sometimes take on the men as prisoners of war so they could fight in their armies. Moor is a term that the Arabs use to define black people, so it's just another word for black.
Damn, yo, you really break it down. Like, I'm not trying to be a culture vulture or anything like that. I don't claim to be from the hood, even though I grew up in the hood area. But I don't claim to be anything. And I know that sagging your pants, I know that came from buck breaking, right? From slavery and from like jail and stuff and prison. Like I used to rock that because I didn't know any better. That I thought that was just a style. But when I started learning about all of this and how that means you're available for sex, I guess, in prison. That's like a sign, like all of that stuff. I was like, damn, like. But the more you learn, the more I guess you could correct yourself if you have that capacity to correct yourself. But it's hard, man, to break out of that once you've been taught that. And my brothers, like my blood brothers always been, you know, listening to hip hop and this and that, and I guess we don't separate ourselves from the black community. You know what I mean? We just call it hood. We're from the hood, you know. But you right. Like I didn't know about. I mean, I knew about the tethers of other people and stuff, but I didn't know how deep that went. And I like how you explained it. In a very comprehensive way.
Exactly. Like when you talk about the buck breaking, like that's a perfect analogy. Reason being is people often try to take things from black culture, foundational black American culture, that we really don't even want in our culture. Like the sagging, like the N-word. These are things that are passed down from generational trauma, and they're epigenetic tags. They're tags on our DNA that hang like ornaments on a tree that we have to work to get rid of. And it perpetuates the trauma when people from other cultures, outside cultures, come here and start calling us and calling each other nigga, 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 start sagging their pants, start doing all the women just shaking their ass everywhere, doing all the deviant behavior that has been bestowed upon us. That's why you'll see certain things in the media when it comes to entertainment that keeps black people looking like either Meg the Stallion, where black women just want to shake their ass, or you got how the rappers are, where black men just want to sell drugs, have baby mamas, and they want to do drugs. They're junkies at the end of the day. But people glorify that type of behavior, and they put black people in the category of being the ones that created that. But we didn't create it. These are trauma tags that we are exhibiting, but people aren't trying to help black people. They're just trying to hurt and steal from black people. And your mom or your grandparent, your parents, the elders in your family, you're gonna have a hard time getting the truth out of them, because there's a phrase. I forget the first phrase, but it's something la raza. Like how Eddie Guerrero used to say, "Viva la raza." It's like something la raza, and it means improve the race. When they say things like that, they're meaning that they want to whiten the race up. They don't want to be associated with the black people, the original people that were there, because like I was talking about now, people like to take over what black people are doing and then ultimately replace those black people. So you have these people in the Spanish speaking people that, just listen to that, Spanish. They want to identify with Spain, with Europe. But like you said, when you go over to Spain, they don't see you as European like them. They see y'all as niggas, because they understand who y'all are mixed with. Y'all are mixed with the black original people that were there. And then there were Mongoloid tribes, and there were also some black tribes that helped Cortez and them kill all the men, because that's how conquerors work. They kill all the men, then they rape the women, and those children that are born from those women ended up siding with their fathers more than their mothers. They were taught to hate their mothers and admire and want to be like their fathers. So you imagine that mindset gets passed down from generation to generation to generation. Now you see how y'all today, it's really confusing. Because do y'all call yourself Spanish? Do y'all call yourself this? Do y'all call yourself that? Like what like the Latinx community is like one of the more recently created communities. It's really it's really deep, because Latin people tend to be very proud of their culture, but they tend to also not explain that majority of what they do and what's in their culture comes from the black people that came over here from Africa a long time ago, the Paleo Americans who established that lifestyle here. And then when their ancestors came through, the Mongoloid people came through, they were nomads. They didn't have anything. They barely had a language. They barely had anything. So the Paleo Americans would often teach these Mongoloid people how to communicate with them and other people, how to do trade, how to build, how to farm, how to do all these things. They would go off, do their own thing, but then after a generation or two, they start to grow a hatred for those black people. Why? Because they realize that nothing really comes from them. They didn't create anything. Everything that they know and love, all of it came from a different culture. That's scary to think about.
Yeah, I only started learning about the Fez recently. About I heard it was originally it was white, and then they would put it to soak on the blood of their enemy, and then wear it on top of their head. Like, I guess that's a thing from pride. Like after a battle, that's like saying like, yo, I'm wearing my enemy's blood on my head or something like that. Like a war thing. You feel me? Like cutting scalps, collecting scalps and stuff like that. Scalping. But yeah, I always thought that was kind of funny looking. That was kind of weird. I didn't know fully. When I seen black people wearing them fezzes, I was like, I thought them people were Arab or Turk or something. But yeah, I did my homework the other day. I'm always on YouTube, and I'm always like looking for this and looking for that. I don't really retain everything I learn or take it at word for word, because I know not everything, all the information out there is not correct. But I cross-reference to see if they match. You feel me? Like if they all if they all agree. You know what I mean? And if not, I keep digging and I keep digging. But like them brothers you have on your page, I forgot his name, but the bald brother that he was on like Geraldo or something back in the days. All them dudes, like I've been getting into all them dudes recently. And this all started when I went to the city and I see the black Hebrews, the Israelites on the streets, and they was talking about how the white man was created, and I don't know if it was Esau, and it was like two brothers, and one of them came out albino or something like that. And when I was just there, I was like, wow. And what's funny? They didn't say nothing to me. I thought they were gonna look at me and they were gonna say, yo, this ain't for you. But some white people were walking by and they started listening, and they was in the back. And these black Israelites were like, this ain't for you, white man. They were like, keep it moving. And they didn't say nothing to me. Like I was just in the front, and I was like, yo, I felt accepted. I felt like yo, there must be something in me that they see that I'm not fully, cause I'm pale as fuck, but I guess they see my features or something, and they was like nah, you can chill. Oh yeah, I know what you mean. Viva la raza is like, it's basically saying it's saying, we gotta keep the race alive, but they're not saying what race. I guess, because to them their race is Mexican. You know what I mean? Like, but we all know that's not. It's more complicated than that. So they don't consider themselves Spaniard. They don't consider themselves black. They don't consider themselves indigenous. They just say la raza. You know what I mean? And now I feel you though. That's the truth, man. Like that's not what it means. That to whiten the race, but they do think that way. You know what I mean? They do try to breed the black out and highlight the white, and that's all from colonialism, man. Like even if you watch a telenovela from over there, you see the whitest people up in the front, and the servants are always mestizo, Mexican, and in India they have a caste system. So all the white looking Indians are considered beautiful, this and that, but then they have like several like caste, like classes or whatever, and at the bottom is the undesirables. Like the blackest of the Indian people do all the dirty work. Like they get rid of dead bodies. They're garbage men. They're like and in every country I noticed, even in the Arab world too, the whitest people are always in the front, and then like the more indigenous looking, the more and always get pushed to the side. I always see that, in every that's a world problem. See, that's important what you said about Cortez. I gotta look into that, because I know we like Cortez and all them conquistadors did that, but it's funny, man. Like for us, it was Simon Bolivar that liberated us, but I want to know who are the ones that conquered us in the first place, and if he was going against the crown and liberating us, or if that's all whitewash history. I've always wanted to know about that too, because back in the day, Colombia, Ecuador, and Venezuela was known, or was going to be known, as La Gran Colombia, like one big region. And I was never down with that. I heard stories about people in Ecuador that, because we was part of the Incan Empire, which is from Peru, and it stretched across. I forgot what other countries it had in its territory, but supposedly my people, Ecuadorian, like indigenous, we hid into the mountains so that we wouldn't get caught, and that we was fighting them, because it was a mighty empire, compared next to a small group of like rebels, you know what I mean, that wouldn't let themselves get mixed in, and they was always up in like the Sierra, in the mountains, so I learned about certain tribes like the Aucas and stuff like that. So yeah, it's interesting, man. It's interesting what you said. You made me think.
Oh, they definitely do mean whiten the race up. You can see it everywhere on the planet. In Brazil, in the Caribbean, Brazil is like I'm pretty sure it's like the number one, the capital of basically skin bleaching. Yeah, skin bleaching. Like Brazil is known for people actively bleaching their skin and doing stuff like that. You see a lot of those Caribbean baseball players. A lot of times they come up here and you end up with a Sammy Sosa, where a dude done started lightening up his race. Why? Because when they say that, when they talk about for the race, they understand what that means. That's why the elders passed that down. They understand that we want to be associated with Spain, with Spanish. Like we speak Spanish. We're Spanish speakers. They still haven't changed that term. There's enough Hispanic people. There's enough people from that culture to say, hey, no, we're not going to call it Spanish anymore because we're not Spanish. We're something else. But the problem is they keep on wanting to associate with white people because they want to improve the race, which means whiten up the race. They want to be the people that the white people look at and be like, oh, y'all are our friends, y'all are our allies, because they're in control right now.
Yo, I don't see how. I guess that's because of colonialism, but I don't see if like let's say I were to discover that about myself, that nothing came from my people, that my people came from another people, or or everything we learned, like that would, I don't know, I guess, either that would make you either more proud, or it would make you want to learn about yourself more, or it would, like you said, it would make you angry, and resentful, but the only way I could explain that, I guess, is brainwash, you know what I mean? Like colonialism, like self-hatred. That's a better word, self-hatred. And that all of that was taught to us,
And when you're talking about the Indian people over there, that's exactly right. Gandhi was racist as hell. And not only was Gandhi racist as hell, the black people you're talking about over there are called the Dravidians. They're called Dravidians. And they were the original black people. Once again, like I was telling you before in the post, black people founded the planet. And then a lot of then a Mongoloid people and different groups of humans would come, be nomads, learn from them, and then after a couple hundred years come back through, they great grandkids coming back through trying to take over everything and rape everybody and kill everybody off. It's like that's how it happened all across the world to black people.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Nah, because it's two separate things. Viva la raza is one thing. It's like saying, like, let the race live, like word, like it's like a proud thing. But what you said was mejorar la raza, which is something else. Like I know what you mean, cause I seen it from, like, let's say Dominicans, or darker, like, Latin people, or Spanish people, however you want to call it. They see their baby and they're like, oh, your baby's got good hair, and they try to whiten it, like whiten their genes. They try to improve the race. That's what they call it. Yeah, I know what you're saying now. You had me a little confused, but yeah, I think that's I don't know if I clarified it, better. But yeah, I heard that before. Like let's improve the race, or like, if I get married with such and such person, to improve the race. I heard of that. When you say Mongoloid, I gotta check that out, cause I thought you was referring to the Mongolians. But yeah, I heard of that before, and I heard it as used as an insult too, like bunch of Mongoloids or something like that, like in an old movie or something, And I heard some crackers saying that, but I thought they was talking about Mongolia, like the hordes of Mongolia next to China. You know what I mean?
It's good that you know that, when you associate China with Mongoloid, because Mongoloid is just a facial feature. Not just a facial feature, it's a cranial structure. Like when people dig up bones, they excavate bones, the way they find out what group of people this people come from is based off of how the skull is shaped, based off of how the bone structure is and everything. Like Chinese women, their children tend to have bigger heads than every other children other children on the planet. So their pelvic, like if you excavate the bones of a ancient Chinese woman, like her pelvic bone is going to be bigger, because it has to be bigger for the bigger headed babies that they would have. So this is, when I talk about Mongoloid, it's not an insult. It's a classification through excavation and bone structure and everything. Like the Mongoloid people, like when you see a red Indian, like what they call Native Americans over here, that look that they have, where they talk about like high cheekbones and certain features like that, those are Mongoloid features. And white people were created in Asia, and then they migrated over. All the Arab people and all the lighter skinned people over in Europe and everything and all of that. When these, like, Mesopotamian looking people started to develop. They started to develop in Asia. That's why you got Mongolia over there.
Yo, that's crazy. Yeah, I heard several theories on that. I heard one of them was they made the white man in the lab or something, like he was a creation. What else? There was another one that was like a creation story, aside from the black Israelites, that said there was two brothers and one of them was albino with like red hair, and he was like an animal or something. And so they abandoned him, I think, in the mountains or something. And those people started breeding with each other, and they created, the white man or whatever. They created, you know what I mean? They started breeding within each other and made their own race or something like that. I always thought about that, like, because nobody truly knows where these people came from. And I also heard they was in caves. They was real primitive. They was cavemen. Yeah, they was like savages. Like you said, they didn't know how to clean themselves. They was like, living with wolves and hunting with wolves. That's why they say, dog is man's best friend, because like wolves and not dogs, but wolves help them. They were raised by them. You know what I mean? So I heard several things like that, and the rest of us, we were the ones that were civilized. Black people, indigenous, well, not black people, but you know what I mean, paleo people and indigenous. We had, studied the stars, and we was like, astronomers, and we created all that stuff, man, when they was in caves still. So I know I'm not that far, from you, but I know you's a knowledgeable brother. I know you know way more than me, and I like the way you explain it, man, because that's what I'm trying to find out, is more about myself and my people.
Each one teach one. That's the motto, man. I'm just out here to do God's work. Exposing racist motherfuckers is the extra part of the job for me. That's a plus.
It's crazy how, like, that post, or not that post, but that comment and our thread, just, our exchange between me and you, like, now the racists are starting to come out. You see, the racists are starting to poke their head out, and you got this dude over here, Victor Von Doom. You better not apologize. You see what he said? I don't know if he's fucking around, but that's probably like real racist. Like it's starting to expose all the racists in the group. And I didn't mean to do that, man. Now I feel guilty. Like I should just take the post down. Like what do you think I should do?
I think you should keep the post up, because first of all, exposing racists, that's something I call that a Monday where I'm from. I'm not a part of any particular group, and unfortunately we do have a lot of tribalism when it comes to these groups, the Hebrew Israelites and so on, the Moors and everything. It's a lot of tribalism, and I really don't like to get involved with all of that. I've learned from each of those groups, and I've taken my own path moving forward. It's like, so I'm not really tied down to any particular group. It's like, but I'm not alone, because I'm B1, I'm Black First. All these groups are my group. I feel like, I don't choose one over the other. And of course, you're gonna have people that come out of the woodwork and are like, you better not apologize, brother. It's all right, brother. Why? Because these are the people who are the most insecure on the planet. European Americans are the most insecure group of people on the planet, and the Europeans over in the crown. They steal everything, they have nothing, and they develop nothing. So when somebody tries to, like he's saying, don't apologize, because they arrogantly stand on their square, where it's not even a square, it's a hole. Y'all, they're sinking, but they'll sink with the ship if it means they get to keep their pride. So yeah, leave it up and be proud of that shit. I was like, we had a civil discourse. Victor Von Doom is a comic book character. He's a supervillain in the comic book. So this guy's cosplaying as a supervillain in real life. Like, he's got it's a whole troll page, so he can go across the internet and be a racist troll to people. And when they go back and look, it's just Victor Von Doom. It's a comic book character. His real name isn't even on there. Like, my real name isn't online either. So I mean, little bit hypocritical for me to say that, but it's still his whole approach is to be a troll. So I let them troll. Go ahead and troll, because guess what? At the end of the day, I'm gonna have the last laugh, because while you're doing all this trolling, I'm gonna throw your ass right underneath that bridge where you belong and put you in your place. That's why he said don't apologize, because he doesn't really know what else to say, and he wants to see the argument continue, because he's a troll. He wants to see if you actually go back in our comments and look at some of your likes, there's a whole dude with like an American flag pasted over his face, where he's only liking your stuff, the stuff that he thinks where you're saying he got him right here, like he's only liking your stuff, and all my stuff is factual and makes sense. But they're racist. They're gonna look at you, and they're gonna try to make you side with them. Not really. Listen to that clip carefully. They're not gonna try to side with you. They're gonna try to have you side with them, so that you become an ally for them, so that it increases their numbers. They're not gonna try to help you out as somebody. If you're Hispanic, however you view yourself, they're not trying to help you out. They're trying to help themselves out at the end of the day.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're right about that. That's what they want to see. They want to see division. They want to see, fighting amongst us. That's crazy, yo.